I was born in Lima, Peru, and I grew up in Surquillo, which is a barrio of Lima. But my father came to the United States in '65. I was 3 years old by then. At the time when he came here, the laws in the United States were changing, and they were allowing more people from Latin America. He had to start at the bottom, raised enough money to pay for a trip for my family and I, my mother and my sister and my brother, to come to the United States. We came in 1971. I was about 8.5 years old at the time. Brand new country, and oh God, it was just amazing. Coming from where I came, I didn't know I was poor at the time, but I was. I guess when you're poor, you never realize it until you come into a place like the United States and you realize how wealthy it is. We did much better here. The one steady job that he had was as a janitor. And he worked at a bank in San Francisco. So even though I grew up in a heavily or predominantly Latino neighborhood with a lot of Mexicans and Central Americans, there were a lot of immigrants coming in at that time from all over the world in the 1970s when I came. The one thing that kept us all together was language. So I quickly became bilingual. I didn't go to a great high school, but I'm very proud of the high school I went to, Mission High School, about a 60% graduation rate. I guess you would consider me a success story because I was probably one of the few who went to a four-year university. All the stuff that was going on, particularly in the newspapers, I followed very closely, and I always thought in the back of my mind, wow, wouldn't it be nice to be able to do that? And so quickly, when I was in college, I realized that I also like to write a lot, and I like to see my name, published also. And so I became a journalist, a student journalist. I remember the counselor telling me, well, you want to get into journalism, you really got to go look up for Juan Gonzalez. He started his own paper. It's a Chicano newspaper that came out in the '70s called El Tecolote. I'd never heard of it, and he seemed like he was shocked because this was the first time I had even heard the term Chicano. I didn't know what Chicano was. They took me on really fast. I was sort of like their project, and I used to write a lot for them. I covered my neighborhood really well, and that helped me get into my college newspaper. I felt very confident. I didn't mind being the only Latino in my college newspaper at the time because I came in with some experience. Right before I graduated, I applied for an internship at the LA Times. It's a minority editorial training program. It's a one-year program. The hard part about it was that I had to leave San Francisco. And I was very close to my family and never thought I'd leave San Francisco. There was a little resentment also because they thought it was an affirmative action program and that I got it because of the color of my skin. So that always stuck with me, and one of the things I always thought to myself, I'm going to prove them wrong, and I did, and I stuck with it. I graduated in '86. I got my first job as a professional writer, journalism, at the LA Times when I was like 23 or 24 years old. I've given back also. I've been a good volunteer. I organize journalism training programs for high school kids. And not just Latinos, but for all kids, white, black, Asian, doesn't matter. We call it the multicultural journalism program. I help raise money for it. I help recruit kids, and we've been doing it for almost 30 years now. I came to San Diego in 1989. I started off as our Latino affairs reporter. San Diego Tribune and the San Diego Union merged in 1992. And one of the first things that happened was they put a diversity team together. Being Latino along the border meant that you covered a lot of immigration issues, a lot of border issues, a lot of cross-border issues. And that's what I did, and that was part of my assignment for many years. So the early 2000s, by that time we had a number of Latinos were employed as writers at the Union Tribune. We had a Spanish publication. And our staff was big, and at that time I was asked to do a different assignment. I was asked to cover education. Things have changed in the news business, and the past 4 or 5 years, the economy changed, the newspaper industry changed, and I changed too. As our newsroom at the Union Tribune got smaller, there were layoffs, there was a lot of restructuring, people were asked to do more. I was asked to write a lot more, and shorter articles, and which I did, but things I guess you couldn't avoid it at the end. There must have been like 4 or 5 rounds of layoffs. Our newspaper shrunk by hundreds of people, and just this past year I was affected. I was downsized or laid off so many ways you can say it. Of course, I was sad. I was very sad to leave a place that I had, called a home for so long. At the same time, I saw it as an opportunity to do some of the things that I'd always wanted to do. I'm a good writer, but I needed more skills. So once I left the Union Tribune, I quickly enrolled in some classes. I'm taking some digital media classes at San Diego State right now. And this is good because a lot more of journalism is being focused on the web. When you open up journalism to the masses, to the citizen journalists of the world, that's fine. I mean, we need content, we need information. But the one thing that journalists do, and they do best, is we sell accuracy. We sell the truth, we sell facts, we sell basically our integrity. If we say this is factual, this happened, I witnessed this, it carries a lot of weight. I think that's what's kept my career going, is that I value those things, and I think I developed a reputation for that. I'm working for a couple of startup news websites. I'm going to start doing some work for a Spanish bilingual website pretty soon called San Diego Red. Being bilingual, being bicultural, and being where I come from, I know that my experiences are going to be a lot different than some of the other journalists out there. Call me a minority if you want. That's okay, because you still need a minority to speak up and speak out and to understand their audience. I think I bring that, and I know I'm not alone. There's a heck of a lot more Latino journalists out there now. I see my job at this stage, I've been doing this for well over 20 years, is to help them along as well, to mentor them, to encourage them. So I didn't change. If anything changed about me, is that I'm improving myself, and I'm learning more about myself, and I'm learning to do things I didn't think I could do before. And I think that's going to pay off in the end. And I told a colleague the other day, very respected arts critic who was laid off the same time as I was, that whoever gets us is going to be very lucky. He agreed. What interests me most is that my family's happiness. So I tell them that all this is going to have a happy ending.